The GAA Hour is sponsored by Paddy Power. For exclusive content from their GAA ambassadors and other high-profile contributors, check out news.paddypower.com.
Hello, Westport. Crazy Mayo fans, crazy Mayo fans. I've been led to believe there's some Donegal fans in the audience as well. Can you make yourself heard? Just one row, is that all? All right. All right, we have a brilliant show lined up for you. So we're going to talk in part one about the rivalry that developed between 2012 and 2013. And I'm not sure, was it between the players or was it between the management teams? But there was a lot of shit being talked anyways. Especially it came to a head in 2013. James Horan said, actually, show me a team that has good body language towards Mr. McGuinness on the sideline. So they didn't like each other. And as it turns out, the two of them sat in the Sky studio and, you know, relationships thawed and they were getting on really well and the body language improved an awful lot. So I don't know how that went down. In part two, we're going to have Tony McEntee. Obviously, it was on the Stephen Rochford card. And there has been a question circulating around Mayo for the 3 or 4 years Stephen Rochford was in charge. And there was one man been leading this question. Who the hell was picking that Mayo team when Stephen Rochford was in charge?
I went pathetic in the first time.
Do you blame Stephen Rochford for doing it?
Oh yeah, but he's not managing the team.
And who is it McEntee's managing?
No, I don't. It's five players managing
Well,
the
who
team.
are the five?
The two O'Shea's, Killian O'Connor, Alan Dillon and fucking Andy Moran.
Alan didn't get run that list again.
No, because he couldn't very well put him in, was he? After putting all the other people there. Noel Drake is there because of Andy Moran. Isn't he?
Well, their brother now.
Conor O'Shea is there because the two O'Shea's demanded. Alan Dillon is there because the two O'Connors demanded.
But you were the
I know fucking well. I know more about the inside of Mayo. I played it, and that's why I walked away from it. The politics of Mayo football makes me sick to my teeth.
Okay, yeah.
I tell you that.
I've always wanted to do that. The politics of Mayo football made me sick. Okay, give it up for our first panel. Rory Gallagher, Mark McHugh and Alan Dillon. The seats are a bit high here, lads. You'll have to bear with me. So the two O'Connors had you on the team, Alan.
Very thankful to the two guys. Yeah.
Have you any response for Jimmy Sloyan?
He's a comical figure. I think he's a parody account on Twitter, and he gets huge followers. And I think he's known all over the country. I think with the stuff coming up. But yeah, he's a gas character. He
is. He's definitely a gas character. So I have you on to talk about the rivalry, lads. Rory, I'm going to start with you. So this started in 2011 in a challenge game because you had two new management teams, two young teams, similar kind of trajectory, similar young management teams, and you had a challenge game in 2011, and the seeds of this rivalry were sowed that day. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, well, I suppose the first thing, everybody sees things differently. Alan might see it differently than us. We played Mayo in Sligo. I think it was the Thursday or Friday after they got out of jail in London. And maybe we felt that a wee bit of a point to prove. They did. And we went down on a lovely Sunday evening and we were looking forward to the game. So we were thinking it's nice old Mayo again. And we got a rude awakening. And the long and short of it is, at half-time, we said, forget about playing, just start fighting. You know? And we thought Mayo were coming in late. We thought they were laying down markers. Obviously, they were very sore with the way London went. Maybe Alan, they'll divulge what went on in that dressing room. But they were 6, 7, 8 points up at half-time. And it was basically hell for leather in the second half. It ended up quite a good game in between it all. But that definitely, in our view, started it.
Right. So this was the thing under James Horan. Obviously, Mayo's perception might have been that there was a little bit of soft edge, the white boots, the highlights in the hair, not mentioning any players in particular. But you get what I mean? And there was a big thing with Mayo and Donegal at that time to have a harder edge.
Yeah, I think we were changing the corner at that stage, but getting back to London, I think it was maybe a week previous, you know, that was nearly career finishing for a lot of us. And, you know, I remember afterwards we got into a huddle Andy Moran said, no beer tonight, lads, and I suppose that drove half the squad kind of half bananas, that the magnitude of winning a championship game but not celebrating it, and I suppose the commitment that goes in preparing for it. So we were a bit surprised that there was a challenge game arranged. I think it was a week later. It was on a Wednesday.
I think it was maybe 4 or 5 days later.
4 or 5 days later, just after travelling, to London via Galway, Waterford, into Southend, and then travel up to Ruislip. So it was a bit all over the shop. And we arrived in Sligo. It was a Wednesday evening. I think it was a scorcher. I think the pitch was immaculate, just freshly cut. No one at the game. So I think people kind of got the impression that this was going to be, you either go out there and leave it out there, put down a marker for I think we played Galway in the next round. So unfortunately, Jim was probably in a position where he was probably new coming onto the scene. A lot of us had to kind of step up to the mark, and I remember hadn't marked Carlacey in a while, and then it all kicked off, and I think it was just one of them ferocious games. It never stopped. It wasn't refereed at all. It was just a case of.
But did you start out with a wee bit of a point to prove?
I think, naturally enough, yeah. I think, we wanted.
He hopped off them basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we wanted to, put on a show. Show how good we were. That the London performance wasn't good enough, but Donegal were unfortunately in our way.
Yeah. Okay. So that was the 2011. So you wouldn't have seen much of each other for the rest of the year. And then 2012, there was another. I won't call it famous challenge match, but a challenge match that got a bit out of hand again. So you were on friendly terms, Mark, at this stage. So you're, getting challenge games against each other. Again, similar age profile in the management team. And then there was a big tackle on Paddy McGrath. And then
Swinford.
That turned in Swinford. That challenge game turned a bit sour as well.
Aye, but I think the reason these challenge matches maybe were made because it helped both teams. I think it really gave that edge. The two managers were getting just the renew in, and they were trying to find a way to get that edge, and you don't get that many hard games outside of competitive games. So there's no point having a challenge match against a weaker county or something like that. So the two teams agreed that these were going to be real preparation for championship games, and the boys were right. We weren't expecting the first day we played them up in Sligo that day that anything that they came out with from the dressing room, and we were second best everything in the first half. But Rory's right. We went out. I think Rory Cavan and just threw himself around the middle and Alan that day he might have got sent off. I think as well. So, but yeah, it went down to start fun for them. But we both did reasonably well in 2011, 2012 because maybe they started, the kick-started our year, them challenge matches, because you don't get them kind of matches maybe in April or May.
Yeah, but it's fair to say that was the last challenge game you had against each other, Rory.
The second one wouldn't have took place, only for it was in honour of, I think, a guard that had died that was...
Bob
that's right.
Okay.
They wouldn't have been friendly enough to organise one otherwise.
Right, so did McGuinness and Horan go head-to-head on the line in 2012? Did it get out of hand? Now, you and McGuinness were loose cannons on the sideline anyways, and Horan's not...
Rory's not.
Well, we set out to be loose cannons. we had a point to prove, and at the time, we were obsessed with Tyrone. And there was an awful lot of argy-bargy, and there was a perception that some of the Donegal players were soft and they were intimidated and sledging one thing another. We went out to pick a fight with nearly everybody. There's no doubt about it at the time. Yeah. We wanted to prove that we had the steel to play. But that game definitely, I thought it was a ferociously late high hit. I can't remember who done it. Yeah. On Paddy McGrath. But again, and it just all blew over on the sideline. And
I think it was Aidan Campbell, who was a local lad. From Swinford. And I vividly remember Jim McGuinness on the sideline, and he was going to pull the players off the pitch. I think you were out a couple of days later in the championship.
Yeah, I think we were out a week in the Premier round later.
We had enough injuries the way it was nearly going into that match, remember?
Yeah.
And we didn't
and
want
there
to
was
lose
more
anybody
action
else.
going on the sideline after that than there was on the pitch, because I think the referee lost complete control of it. And there was a big support in Swinford, and
I think the referee is now a local man too. You see, that could have been the reason for it. But a lot of local men down there that day.
But all of it was fun.
Yeah,
it was.
But all of this was kind of under the radar then for the All Ireland final in 2012. I didn't know that this kind of dislike for each other was even there.
We played a league game in between that, which was very important as well. You know, neither team were going great in the league. It was maybe around 4 or 5 in Ballyshannon. I think you got a lot of criticism actually after losing it, you know. And
Rory Cavan got sent off.
Rory Cavan got sent off that day as well. we felt Kevin McLaughlin, as Kevin does, dragged him into it. But we Donegal ended up playing really, really well, and the day you didn't go so well, you know. So it was all the time brewing.
Yeah. So then the whole Joe Brolly going on, did he write articles, or he went on RT Radio before the All-Ireland final, and he made a huge, big thing about Mayo being cynical, Alan, and James Horan actually blamed Donegal for setting that up.
Yeah, sure, it was a complete setup. Like, it was completely orchestrated that, you know, we were slowing down the ball against Dublin, and you know, we were late in the tackles.
Well, now you did that day, but you were defending a lead, which is normal enough. Like, I mean, towards the end of that game, you were pulling them down.
Yeah, some people had called it smart football, you know, and I think at that stage, it was Dublin were really putting the pressure on, the squeeze on, and we had to resort to something. And teams do it nowadays, but it's not wrote about. But it was wrote the week before the All-Ireland final, and you know, slight little edges, you know, were playing into the referee's mind at that stage. So, you know,
did that seep into the camp? That stuff?
Not really, but you know, the timing was very important, and how it was portrayed. And you see it now a lot more. It's a lot more common with a lot more different analysts from different, I suppose, teams and counties now, kind of trying to influence in some way or shape or form.
Yeah. What do you think, Rory? How much did you pay Brolly? He does things for free anyway, right?
I can tell you something, absolutely
he doesn't take a fee.
Joe used to write that he was at a training session of ours, you know. And actually at the time, he was an enemy of ours. He had slated Rory Kavanagh very personally in a number of articles. So he had an issue with Rory Kavanagh from 2008, getting a Derry player sent off. So we weren't with Joe, or still aren't, you know.
Yeah.
So we weren't. But it was a bolt out of the blue. And to be fair to Alan, we were concerned about Mayo physicality, there's no doubt about that, and their ability to block runners. But the Dublin game, like Dublin were coming, you were 7-8 points up. Dublin were coming with huge momentum. They were doing what any team in the country would have done.
Yeah.
But we were delighted Joe came out with it. We weren't unhappy.
And did you think it worked in your advantage then?
Not really. You know,
you were all about the runners, right? So you didn't want those blocked.
The 2 goals didn't come from runners,
no.
You know, early on. That game, like, very seldom you'd ever get 2 goals that early in a championship match. And, you know, they don't think it had impact.
Right, okay. So one of the big talking points from the 2012 final was Lee Keegan's hit on you, Mark. So this happened in the Ulster final the year after. So you were so important, obviously, to Donegal's game plan back then as their sweeper and their counter-attack, you know, set up their counter-attacks, and you kind of organised them back there. So the talk was that Lee Keegan hit you and got up and winked, right? As in, there's the job done. So we'll get to this in 2013. You were drawing attention to this. So we actually have footage of this, definitive footage, to see if Lee Keegan winked after this. So we can play it away.
Beautifully in here. Oh, another sling down challenge there on Mark McHugh. And if the referee gave 1 yellow card already, he'll probably give another one.
Yeah, just walk Mark McHugh coming through here. Lee Keegan catches him very high. That's a poor tackle by Lee Keegan. And, you know, Maurice Egan has no alternative but to issue a yellow card to him.
So 2 yellow cards in the space of about a minute, all of them inside the opening 6 minutes. And Mayo already a goal behind.
Now, it happened so fast that it's very hard to make out, was it a twitch, was it a wink, or whatever. So we've slowed it down for you.
It's the one and only Eagle Double G. Snoop Dogg.
So was this something, Rory, that you, like, all the talk then, 2013, with Mayo's physicality, duty of care to my players, Mark McHugh's getting a bad deal of it, Gallogly tried to take him out, he injured himself as well, whatever. Like, did you become a little bit obsessed about this?
Jim did.
Oh, Jim, yeah.
So I did. First of all, we had no sympathy for Mark because he'd never done the gym programmes. Ever. So he did, no matter when he was in Galway, when he was in Sligo at college, he didn't go to the gym. So we had no sympathy for him. No.
I'm driving you back tonight.
Well, I certainly didn't see it the same way, you know, that Jim did, probably after the Ulster final, the focus on Mark said it was a ferocious hit on Mark, you know, in the Ulster, in the Ulster final that year in 2013. I wouldn't say overly dirty, just for, he went hard and real hard for the ball.
Very hard, almost kamikaze.
Yeah, and it ended up dangerous without being intentional, so it is. But we're probably a wee bit vulnerable at the time when you're trying to deflect attention from such a poor show in an Ulster final.
Yeah, maybe that was it. But did you target Mark Allen as like a man that needed to be stopped?
Yeah, I suppose we looked at how pivotal he was to their defensive structure, and you know, his late surges up the pitch were definitely troubling to I suppose the opposition that he played against. And to track his runs were very difficult because he had that engine and he continuously could do it over the 70 minutes. But you know, you could see him up there. He probably started the run from your own, you know, six-yard box and ended up in the opposition side. And I think, you know, the likes of that tackle probably missed time, but you know, we couldn't put a man marker on him. We had to do our own defensive structure. But yeah, he was. You were very agile and I suppose he was, you know, the difference in terms of keeping Donegal together at that stage because they always had cover in their defence.
Yeah, I remember asking you, Mark. I remember I met you in Liverpool one night, and I said, "What the hell are you doing, wing forward and wing back now? You were a brilliant sweeper." He said, "I had to stop kicking it to me."
People they copped on, hey, you know. Teams just to kick it down. So look at that 2011 game, All-Ireland semi-final, Dublin, just kicked every ball. But then teams got smart. You know, they got smart by playing ball over and back and looking for the more spaces and the more we dink ball. You know, and no, my time had come to an end then. I think, or you had the sweeper position evolved like to the Colm Kavanagh type, more physicality to meet the runners coming through. And as Roy says, I didn't do my gym program, so I wasn't fit for it.
But you, when Gallogly hit Mark McHugh, you blamed this on collusion between Mayo and Monaghan.
You journalists all stick together. It was an off-the-record conversation, you know, with aforementioned journalist that I believe was wrong to put it in the paper. But yes, we do believe Monaghan and Mayo played a big challenge game and would have passed notes. Why wouldn't they?
But that was it. So the gas thing about this was because you both burned your bridges with each other, then you started playing Monaghan in challenge games.
Monaghan were trying to replicate Donegal's style of system, and you know, they wouldn't take the offer, the challenge, so we ended up playing Monaghan. I think
there's a link. Kieran Shannon was your psychologist that he used to be friendly with Malachy, who was managing Monaghan.
Yeah. Well, Kieran Shannon wrote my script out, so I'm just following it.
But look, you know, at the time we were so vulnerable. We didn't have a fit team, and we hadn't the work put in, and maybe we were swanning about thinking we were better than we were as well, and that was part of the problem.
Well, it wouldn't be out of question, even though like we're laughing now, but for Rory to say you would have said, well, look, we identified Mark, that's an obvious conversation that will go on between management teams. Not saying you were part of those conversations.
Yeah, and I suppose in that final, you know, to go down 2-1 in the first 7 minutes and to have Mark playing in such a defensive structure, you know, the key for us was to get ahead early. And so Donegal had to go out and play. And, you know, when you're down 7 points in the first 10 minutes, it was going to be an uphill struggle for us. Because you're not going to shift him. You know, he's going to stay there. He's going to just do what he does in terms of cover space, not get quality ball into our full forward line. So, yeah, you know, we were chasing the game. Donegal were so good with their defensive structure in 12. They had learned from 11, which was close to being, you know, I suppose it kind of revolutionised the game in terms of defensive structures. But now the game is changing again with the Dubs, who are, you know, varying against different teams.
Yeah. So how bad did the dislike get then, Rory? Like, I'm wondering, did this seep down to the players, or was this more between the two managements played out a little bit in public?
I would say probably, I think it's nearly more with the players, with Michael now. Michael, he seems to attract it all the time with the Mayo players, but probably the management's, to be fair.
Right.
You know, and maybe we all didn't cover ourselves in glory at certain instances. There's no doubt about that. The tensions were so high, and you know, I remember when we scored, we would have felt that Mayo at the time were trying to be cynical against us. You know, there's no doubt about that. You know, so it is. But and I don't think the players overly. You know, I don't think it was bad. Now, 2013, we had a very bad, very physical league game in Castlebar, you know, which we came out the wrong side as well. You know, but I don't think it was too bad between the players. Maybe I'm wrong.
So in a weird way, over that time, Mayo got the upper hand in those battles outside of the one that was important. I'm sorry to say this. Like, I mean, in league and in championship, Mayo were getting the better of it, Alan. That must frustrate the hell out of you.
Yeah, I think in the last 7 meetings, you know, we've won 4, drew 2, and lost the one that we wanted. So I think some of the challenge games that we would have played, like there would be a lot of familiarity between players, even going to college.
Yeah.
I went to college with Mark. I went to college with Rory Kavanagh, and you know, you call them your friends, but when you cross the white lines, you know, they're your enemy. You know, and you'll do anything to get one up on them. But you know, there's that healthy rivalry, which is important. You know, if you play inter-county football, you're ultra competitive. You put the time in, the commitment in, and you want to see the rewards, and you want to get the wins. And I think the last couple of years, I think was it Ballybuffet last year, or you know, Kevin McLaughlin
with the 20
with
steps.
the last minute. You know, that sealed Donegal's fate back down into Division 2, and I'm sure that was sore for a lot of Donegal supporters. So again, that just adds to the intrigue.
Yeah. No, what did you, from your point of view, Mark? Like, I mean,
I agree. I think whatever was played out in the media in between management was there. As Alan said, it was that healthy. It was a healthy, you know, competitive rivalry. There was no real hatred, like, you know, as I said. Well, I'm just talking about personal anyway. Like, I never felt a hatred towards Mayo, and as I would say, we've played Mayo maybe in the last 2 or 3 years, every year in a challenge match at the start of the year. And if there was a hatred there, you know, Michael Murphy's the captain of the team, he would have that from way back, and he wouldn't allow it. So that goes on. So that good competitive rivalry, like we wouldn't ring up Tyrone like and ask them for a nice wee challenge match. You know, that doesn't happen. So you know, it's them games that you get. I was saying earlier on in April and May that really set you up for the thing. You know, and you want it to be a good battle, but you shake hands afterwards and move on, because I know, as I said, as Alan said, I have a few boys from the Mayo panels in the last number of years I went to college with. I would never say a bad word about them. You know, again, Tyrone would be a different story.
Yeah. You can say that again.
Maybe the Mayo boys might feel different about Galway or Roscommon or something like that, so I don't know.
We'll finish on a good note then, the 2013 game for the people in the crowd. So, like, I mean, it had reached, because obviously we talked about the collusion, we talked about the Horan saying about McGuinness's body language. Horan was talking about the Donegal physicality, while McGuinness was talking about everyone else's physicality against his team. Even the Donegal County Board got in on the act, so they started. They were tweeting at the time. So Mayo GAA think they can do 3 in a row in knocking out All Ireland champions. We'll send them back west next Sunday. Jimmy's winning matches. So, like, I mean, this was, and then after that, the Mayo County Board started retweeting shit people were saying about McGuinness. Like, this was all kicking off. And then this was a freak game altogether, Alan. Like, I mean, I'm sure you learned a lot from 2012, but nobody expected this.
Yeah, it was the perfect game for us at that time, because we'd and we talked about it. We talked about playing Donegal in a quarter-final. I think we kind of knew that the draw was going to be Connacht to Ulster, and he had come out of...
We lost the final.
We
beat Laois, yeah. He beat Laois.
Laois up in Carrick-on-Shannon, yeah.
So, it was, you know, it was built up as, you know, I suppose stage 2 from the All Ireland the previous year. But I think we were, you know, locked on, so well prepared for that game that no matter who we were playing that day, we weren't going to be beaten. And we got, I suppose, the best start possible in the first. I think, you know, we went up 4 or 5 points. We got 1 or 2 goals. Cian O'Connor got a great goal in the first half. He had no right to get it, I suppose. And we just continued to put the pressure on. And I think the game was nearly dead and buried by half time.
Yeah. You weren't expecting maybe them to come with that, Rory, or you reckon you were just sitting ducks that year in general?
Well, we thought going into Ulster final that we were it. You know, we were thinking 3 in a row, and I regret our preparation all year. I regret our mentality got in the Ulster final. Our attitude was, we'll play Carl Lacey. Carl at the time had been injured, because we need to get the game into him. You know, we'll win the Ulster anyway, but we need Carl for All-Ireland. And it was the wrong attitude. And hand on heart, the Laois game was an awful struggle in Carrick and Shannon. I remember going down to Jim's house, and we were watching Mayo and Roscommon, and I was trying to convince ourselves we could win, but we weren't at the level. We were nowhere near it, you know, and we knew that deep down, you know. So we had, you know, throughout the year we'd never reached the heights or anywhere close to it.
Right, and there's no way of snapping out of that, even though you're kind of...
Not when you're coming with a really, really hungry team, who have an awful lot of hurt, and you know, we're a couple of years older. You know, when we played in 2012, we had a lot of players at our absolute peak. Mayo were coming with players getting ready for their peak, you know. So it is, but it's interesting, you know. Obviously, I had the wee outburst coming up to the game, but I remember Aidan O'Shea had a colossal game, and he was coming off, and I felt he was staring at me for ages, and I was like, Jesus. And I said, geez, he's big, you know, but it's ironic. I never really got to Westport as a child on holiday. The following year, I wasn't abroad. I was down in Westport for a few days, and we were, I think it's the plaza at the cross, and he happens to come up to me, and I go, geez, what's he going to say? You know? So he goes, and then he's big, but he just had a chat. He was very friendly.
Right, okay. He was actually, Aidan O'Shea was incredible. It was one of his best ever games, fetching.
He always seems to play very, very well against Donegal.
Right.
I hope that doesn't happen this weekend, but he seems to have a big match against Donegal. He lifts it, and for some reason, I don't know, maybe he's paired against Michael Murphy or something, I don't know.
Some colossal games.
Yeah.
You know, that 13 game, 15 when he brushed him aside and scored a goal.
Fell in my ass.
And he came on in a national
Maybe
league.
that was his last game sweeper, was it?
Yeah, more or less. That was the end of it in the gym programmes that we'd done. So it is. And in 2017, I think he'd been injured playing basketball or something, and Donegal were flying in the first half. I think they were winning 11-1-5, playing with a strong breeze, and Aidan O'Shea came on and just turned the game on his own.
Oh, this was in McHale Park as well, yeah.
And then Murphy, being Murphy, just goes after him and after him and after him, loses whole focus playing the game, and they end up winning the game, you know.
Did him and Murphy go at it that day, no? Did they square up, Aidan and Michael Murphy, that day?
I think there was a small bit of afters, but I think Mayo did what they had to do. They won the game, and I think there was a small bit of, I suppose, handbag stuff.
Yeah.
I know, there was nothing.
You're playing down a lot of these handbags, lads. It's fair enough. We'll edit them out before the show goes on YouTube. Finally, lads, we'll get predictions. We're going to talk more about the match in part 2. 13-8 Mayo outsiders at home in an All-Ireland quarter-final. For me, it's a 50-50 game. I can't come down on either side, Alan. I'll start with you.
Yeah, it's a great position to be in.
Yeah.
And I think, looking at it from a Mayo point of view, they haven't hit the heights this season, or the standards that they've aspired to. I think coming after the National League, winning the National League, I think, you know, expectation levels went through the roof. Over to New York, got the job done, and I think, you know, the disappointment of losing to Roscommon probably really took a lot out of the lads. And the backdoor system, while it's helped with, you know, blood and a lot of new players, you know, we've had 7 new debutants this year. You know, I suppose some of them were forced with the injuries, and some key injuries. You know, take the legs of Jimmy O'Connor and the legs of Matthew Ruan out of that middle third, and it's been very difficult. But I think there's definitely a huge performance in Mayo on Saturday evening. I'm hoping for it. I think for a lot of the players, you know, it's their chance to get back to Croke Park. You know, age is probably catching up on a lot of them, so they won't want to exit on home turf. They'd want to, you know, finish out in McHale Park on a high. And I think home advantage, home support will count for something. And I think, you know, there'll be really passionate Mayo supporters in there. You know, they want to see Mayo driving on.
You can be guaranteed to be passionate Mayo supporters in there. I don't think that goes... Maybe they'll do that army-style warm-up you did before 2013, where you take a hand pass and you do a roly-poly on the ground. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, I remember it, yeah.
Do you remember watching that, Rory? No?
Yeah.
What the hell are these lads at up there?
I remember them doing the warm-up in the league game in Ballyshannon, you know. I mean, am I going to say, if we're going to lose to these boys, there's something wrong. We thought it was crazy, you know.
What were they doing?
Oh, it was a wee bit frantic and crazy stuff, you know. Keane was doing it at the
Keane
time.
O'Neill, yeah. You were doing army-style roly-polies, weren't you?
Yeah.
He's doing these hops off the ground, you know, so when we touched the ground, we'd be up like gazelles. So
Right.
it was
So there was a logic
part
to
of
it.
the S&C's coach, you know, as part of his box of tricks, you know.
Right,
so.
okay. Rory, I'll go to you. What do you think?
I think that you can't turn back the clock, and a lot of Mayo's best players have their best days behind them. That's the reality of it. That's why you pick up injuries. In 2017, that league game, I remember saying we were beaten and said Donegal have a better team than Mayo next year and the year after. Look at Donegal, bar the exception of Neil McGee, who, you know, has had a lot of good days, but the reality is he's past his best as well. I think Donegal have a lot of players coming into their peak, but I wouldn't rule Mayo out. I think they'll handle Michael Murphy and Ryan McHugh better than anybody else has, with the exception of Fermanagh. So it is. but we had a 15-man defence.
Okay, quickly, who will they put on Murphy and McHugh then? Durkin on McHugh?
I think they'll put Lee Keegan on Murphy.
Really?
Yeah, and Paddy Durkin on Ryan, but they could swap it around. So it is.
Right.
But I think those two very rarely lose their battles. Now they're coming against two exceptional players, and that dynamic will change the game an awful lot.
Okay, fair. So who are you calling?
I think Donegal have the better players, and their players playing better.
Okay, great stuff. Mark? You got 2 claps there for that one, Rory.
Now, Mark got a call from Ryan on the way down. Said, "Don't be blowing Donegal up."
Don't know what I'm going to say that.
And don't mention McBrearty's injury.
No more than Rory. I think you know, I haven't been really impressed with Mayo this year. You know, they haven't really had that big game. Alan spoke about, you know, having this big game at some stage, but are they capable of it? You know, we're going to find out this weekend. They went down to Kerry, and all expectations was on, you know, a big battle, and they didn't perform on the day. Donegal have been very consistent throughout the championship. We really beat a good Tyrone team that's in another semi-final. We beat a Kerry team with a fairly depleted squad as well. So more like Roy, we've players that are playing very well at the minute. We have a good squad. If we do have a few injuries, we've men that can come in to replace it. And you know, I'm hoping that this whole Castlebar arena and thing doesn't affect the players. And you know, obviously the sport that Mayo have will be a huge advantage for them. And that they could put on a massive show. They could. It is possible. And but I just think on current form you have to back Donegal.
Yeah, okay. 2-1 to Donegal at the moment. We'll see how that goes. Give it up for panel wall. Anna Dillon, Rory Gallagher and Mark McHugh. Welcome back to Westport. All right, we're ready for panel number 2. Please give a big welcome to Tony McEntee, Kevin McStay and Aidan O'Mahony. What's up, lads? Hi, Kevin. Tony, I'll give you first refusal on Jimmy Sly in there as well. Who was picking the team? You were in with Rochford. How
everybody knows it was Aidan O'Shea that was picking that team.
So I suppose this is the big talking point, lads, of this game. Is Stephen Rochford is coming home to try and plot the downfall of his own county. Tony, you know him well from the last 4 years. How will he be what will he be thinking about this?
So I actually think that James will have learned from the Kerry game here. So and just deflecting your question slightly here, because in the Kerry game, clearly, I think Donny Buckley had a huge influence on the tactics for the Kerry game, and you've seen the impact of that. So I think James will have learned from that, and he'll be trying to take some of the information which maybe played out in the Kerry game and change it for this game. Now, between that and potential injuries, I think it's going to impact on team selection and also then the system of play that they actually use.
Right, but okay, let's get back to the question now again. Because, Stephen didn't want to leave Mayo. So then he goes back up. He goes up to Donegal. Will it be? You can't speak for Stephen, but will there be a part of him hoping to get one over, or will he be a little bit torn?
No, not at all. No, he left Mayo on inevitably his own decision, so it wasn't a fallout with players or otherwise, and he no issue there. And he's no gripe to bear with James either. So I don't think there's an issue that way. However, he will have a lot of information that he took from Mayo in respect to the players, and he would be foolish not to use that information this weekend.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, Kevin. I was wondering on the podcast during the week, what will he know that everybody doesn't know about Mayo at this stage? Like, I suppose he'll have inside information like GPS stats, you know, when players tire. Like, what kind of inside info would be valuable to Stephen Rochford, do you think?
Well, I'll go back to the question that you posed to Tony first.
Because no one's answering my questions
I
here.
come back. No, I won't avoid it because it's a fair question. But the first thing to say, you know, he's certainly not sending Christmas cards to the county board.
Yeah, he was pushed, no, wasn't it?
They certainly didn't make it easy for him. And then I would say, you know, that some of the senior players were quite deafening in their silence in support of him once he had left. It just died a death and was gone, and you moved on. So that would be. I'm looking at it from Stephen's point of view. I have a little bit of experience, obviously, when I was training Roscommon playing Mayo. So you ask, you're kind of hedging your question, saying, you know, how will he feel? Like Colm, he will feel nothing, but the only thing that matters is to win. And that's not to, you know, he's a son of Mayo, the same as I am, but you're on the other side. It's about the W. That's all it's about. And, you know, it's terrible that he's had to face them so quickly, you know, and I was the same, you know, we won the championship, and then next you walk out to Croke Park and who the feck is coming out the tunnel but Mayo. So, like, you don't want it, but then you're saying, Jesus, if I could pull one on him, you know, or pull one on Mayo, this, you know, it would help the pain, if you like, to a certain degree. Now, he can't unknow what he knows about Mayo. He knows everything. He was their manager after all. Yeah. You know, Tony knows his bit from coaching, the S&C knows a bit, but the manager knows the whole lot, or else he's not managing it right. But I know, I had Stephen under 21, he's an outstanding individual. So I know he'll have it spot. And of course, he has to, he's bound to, he's honour bound to use everything he has to try and get the win for Donegal. And, you know, just think about the shape that Donny was able to do for the match in Killarney for Kerry. It's hugely important. He knows who's tiring. Now I'm coming back to your question. He knows who's tiring. He knows who likes to go on their left side. He knows who takes an extra touch on the ball. He knows who doesn't like to pass the ball when he gets 2-on-1 with the goalie. All these things, of course he knows them. He's been going to bed every night and thinking of nothing else. And then he wakes up in the morning, that's all he's thinking. It's 24/7. So it's, from a Mayo perspective, they're going to just get on with it and do their thing. But from a Donegal perspective, do you think Declan Bonner isn't saying this week, well now, you know, how could we get under the jumper of X or Y or Z, or who might we match up on Michael Murphy? Who might we match up on? Who's the temperament to stay with Murphy? Who's the temperament to stay with young McHugh? Etc.
Or so Harrison doesn't like marking small, fast lads, or, you know,
perhaps,
all that kind of stuff.
I don't know that detail, but to think otherwise would be naive. Like he can't, as I said, he can't unknow what he knows.
No, definitely not. How do you feel about coming down to Mayo, Aidan, after all your trash talk before the game at Killarney?
I wouldn't say it was trash talk now. No, I suppose from my side, I was asked a question.
Wait a minute, what was it? They celebrated the league final win a bit too much, I think you said. You said,
I think
if Kerry click, we'll hammer them. Something like that, which turned out to be right, sorry.
But I think from I suppose from the Kerry side, and you'd have to say that home game, like the pressure was on Kerry. We were playing at home, and there was a lot of talk after that league final. Yes, Kerry were bullied. I suppose from being a retired player looking in, we'd have seen a lot of younger lads there, and I think it kind of gave them a bit of a pinch that a lot of them had won minor All-Ireland medals, and they weren't used to being beaten, and all of a sudden, like, they were beaten above in Croke Park. Now, it might have been a different game if David Clifford had tipped in that ball. You know, it might have stood to Kerry. So I just think that game in Killarney that day, like, we just needed a performance, and, you know, it showed the start of the second half there, and David Moran with a colossal game, like, they were pushing and dragging all over the pitch. And it was very similar to the 2014 game, because I think that Mayo-Kerry, I was going to say bond, but like that rivalry between Kerry and Mayo has come on over the last couple of years. And those games take on a life of their own. And I know you were talking about there about Stephen Rochford being involved with Donegal now, but I remember 2014 when Donny Buckley was involved with Mayo. And I can remember myself thinking, because myself and Donny be very close, and I was saying, Jesus, guys, this guy knows every player, even with Kerry that time. He knew us inside out. But the game took on a life of its own. Like, I remember we were down 2-2 to no score after 7 or 8 minutes. And I can remember just my own mentality was like, we're not going to lose this game. We're going to stay in this game. Something's going to happen now. And that game just took on a life of itself. Now, when I mean life,
sound like Brian Cody here.
There was fellas, no, but like it did. Like it just took on a life of its own. And you know, tactics and stuff go out the window when games like that happen. And I like the trash talking. You're well used to doing it yourself on social media, like, so you don't have to be telling me you used to give you out about Mick O'Dwyer for years, like one of the greatest managers of all time when he went to Laois. But no, it was just, I think it was just a statement that our young guys needed to stand up, and they did on the day, like, and for a home game, and we haven't lost at home for 27 or 28 years. There was a lot of pressure on them, and it was a game that they just needed to go out there and express themselves, and they did that. Yeah,
fair play to you for talking about Kerry for 5 minutes there at a Mayo-Donegal preview show.
Well, you asked me the question, so I answered it.
Call insecurity between the two of you there.
Tony, I'll ask you, because you know Stephen fairly well. What's been his influence on Donegal? Because I suppose we've seen Donegal play in a couple of different ways this year. Is it the unpredictability? Stephen likes to take risks.
I think his influence is overrated in Donegal. I think he's not there long enough. I think he's going to take all of this season, move in the next season before you get to see the impact of that. I think new coaches coming in the setups take as much time to adjust to the player as the player takes to adjust to them. So I think right now it's overrated on it. I do, however, think that what he will bring will be what you're suggesting here is the flexibility and it's the thought process around picking a team, who plays where and when. The idea of putting on, for example, a fresh player the last that hadn't played championship in whatever length of time, you know. So I think he'll bring new ideas to that setup, and he'll bring a change to the coaching format. And I think in particular, if he's brought anything, it's the earlier transition of play that Donegal have this year. And I think he can credit that at least, because that's a change in their style of play.
Well, I thought, Kevin, there was definitely a change in their style against Kerry. I wasn't expecting that. It was a huge departure from the Tyrone tactics to the Kerry tactics. And I thought Rochford was behind. I don't think without Rochford, Donegal would have taken on Kerry like that. Is that fair?
I tend to agree with Tony. He has an influence, but within the management structure. I think the tactics they go with are game specific. So what they had a sense that Tyrone were going to continue with what they were trying to roll out at the end of the league, and they said, well, you know what, we'll go back now and put McFadden at the top of the D, and let's see if they can get their running game, or get their kicking game past us. And they couldn't, because I'll be very blunt about it, I don't think Tyrone have good foot passers. That, you know, they've X amount of good players, and then they've a lot of very average players, and that's why the hand pass come off the shoulder and play the running game into the offence. But the question of changing it then for Croke Park, I think that would come very easily to Declan Bonner, just as easily as it would come to Stephen. I think they would be on the same page, because that won't get the job done against Kerry. And I was doing that game for the TV, and it was a magnificent game. Like the standard of skill in the last 20 minutes, last 15, when it was, you know, the penalty arrived, and then it looked like Donegal would push on, and then Kerry pushed on, and like the passing, the first touch, the skill level, the shooting accuracy in those last 10 minutes. You know, you leave, I'm trying to contrast it now to the Mayo game, which was previous. You see what Donegal can roll out in that situation, take on a market leader in Kerry. Like, you know, we all measure ourselves against your County 8, and that's just the tradition you have, and Dublin obviously currently. But if you're an observer that knew a bit about senior, intermediate and junior football, and you went in, you'd say that was the senior match. You know, Donegal,
there's always that feel about the second game.
Yeah, they were at All-Ireland standard level, and Mayo, you know, looked tired and looked like they needed to get home and go to bed, having won the match, and get their energies back to see can they get to that standard on Saturday night. And that's the big thing we don't know now.
Yeah.
We have to wait and see. But they're going to be playing a very flexible outfit in Donegal. And again, I make this very simple, Colm, for one reason. Donegal have a stack load of very good footballers who happen to be big men as well. They all have a lovely touch on the ball. They're two-footed, two-handed. They move the ball, and they're very athletic. So you're talking about, you know, McGee. And I'm not talking about Neil McGee, the other fella, Jason McGee.
He'd be out though, won't he?
Well, we don't know that for sure. I think his
hamstring,
partner McFadden, like Langan, Gallen,
Thompson.
obviously Murphy, they're all big rangy players, Colm, who have lovely touch on the ball, and that's why they can change up and be so flexible so quickly from game to game. So it's game specific for me.
That's the thing, and I suppose we don't know how Donegal are going to approach it. We have a good idea how Mayo are going to play, but we're not fully sure how Donegal will approach it.
No, and I think the last they kind of adapted their game as well. Myself and the two lads spoke about this before we came on there. Like Michael Murphy started inside full forward and Shane Enright picked him up. And I suppose watching the game, Shane Enright was getting on a lot of ball and Michael Murphy weren't influential maybe in the first 10 to 15 minutes. And Shane was kind of following him everywhere to the 65-yard line. So then Michael Murphy decided to drop deep. He started getting on more ball, became more influential. And the same with Ryan McHugh as well. Like, they just have players that kind of, in certain parts of the games, they stand up and they're counting. I watched them last year against Dublin as well. And for 40 minutes of that game, above in Crow Park, they were absolutely flying that game. I was looking saying, Jesus, they really put it up to Dublin. And then I think they kind of took their foot off the gas and kind of said, look, we've Tyrone above and Ballybuffet, we'll beat them up there and we'll be into Northern semi-final. This year I think they have a different team, as Kevin said there. The fellas that are coming in now that are making a difference, like the Kerry game the last day, obviously they could have stole the game. Now, as we spoke as well, like I think Michael Murphy took about 20 metres in the free kick there in the last free kick of the game. But, you know, they're big players and they're standing up in every game. And that's what you're talking about when you're looking at county teams and you're going to those games. They're big players. The same with the Meath game. Like, Meath were still in that game. Michael Murphy flicked on the ball, Ryan McHugh ran onto it. And the last day again, the two of them were just at a different level. Like, and for Kerry, it was a game for us where our young lads kind of are pitted against, I suppose, a Donegal system and a team that play that system, but they can change their game as well. Like in the last, like they were very hard, I think, to play against, and like we were happy enough with the draw and the finish.
Yeah, back talking about Kerry again.
I was going to say Ian.
Well, I talk about.
Well, Tony. No, quick before he talks about Kerry anymore.
Definitely the Donegal have though is that they're losing so many big players. It's probably the Paddy's gone and Owenban's gone and possible Jason if he's
the Mayo game, McLaren, like
Talkie's gone, yeah. But if Jason McGee went off with a hamstring, he's not going to be back in 2 weeks. He had to leave with 20 minutes to go, didn't he? Hamstring, yeah.
But you look at the Clarn game, Matt Rowan, Diarmuid O'Connor, Paddy Durkin.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Like, they're all back now, right? Yeah. Rowan might not be.
Yeah, but like he's been out for so long. You don't walk back to this heat on a Saturday night at this level of the game and everything's grand. You know, like he's been out with a collarbone for quite a while. But now maybe he is. Maybe he's going fantastic in training. Hopefully he is.
What will Rochford have identified as Mayo's main weakness that he can take on, Tony?
I'm sure that's a fair question. I think there's a number of places where Mayo need to improve, okay, and I think which they can, to be fair. And I actually think that this is a game set up for Mayo. I think this is a game that Mayo can actually win for a lot of reasons. But first of all, they are improving. They're a team that's steadily improving as the game goes on. And all these people here know that Mayo, once they get this far, they improve, and they improve against better teams. So when they play against Down earlier in the year, it's a roller coaster, up and down.
Well, that's it. Whatever. They seem to just go to the level of the team they're playing, don't they?
They're playing, you know. So in this weekend, I think they're going to lift it. I think they're ready for it. I think, you know, they're relying on big games from Aidan O'Shea. Let's be honest. He's a man that's colossal defensively, but they're going to look for more offensively of him. So I think if he gets more running game going, then that'll be a huge boost to him. I think as well that he'll end up in probably a free role because he'll sit back in midfield, probably end up marking Hugh McFadden, who'll do likewise in the Donegal setup. So it depends who is the greatest influence there. I do expect them to get more to Lee Keegan. I don't think Lee Keegan is going to be marking Michael Murphy. I think it's too obvious. I think James doesn't want to do too obvious. I think it's what Stephen might do, so James won't do it type thing, you know.
Right.
So I think they'll put somebody else on him. But it's more important for Lee Keegan to get into the game and try and get a bit more drive into this Mayo team, because right now they're not getting that drive that they've had earlier in the year and now. So I think there's big improvements coming here with this team.
Well, you have the secret for marking Michael Murphy anyway, so we definitely have a picture of that. But the thing about Michael Murphy is it's gas, and you put Lee Keegan on him, and Murphy could clean him in midfield. And you put a big man on him to catch him in midfield, and Murphy will take him on the ground. It's very difficult to find someone. In fairness to you, Aidan, you were a good match-up for him, and you did the best job on him that I've seen anybody do.
I think Joe Brawley said I put a saddle on him, which, coming from Joe now, I wouldn't take much notice of it. But, the day, I remember the All-Ireland final 2014, and Eamon just said to me, mark him, and wherever he goes, just follow him. And that's what I did. I can remember he went outside the line of the Hogan stand at one stage, outside the white line. And I was kind of looking at him saying, Jesus Christ. And I said, you know something now? If he's going outside the line, I'll go with him. And both of us were standing outside the white line. And the linesman was like, he had the flag kind of halfway up, like saying, fuck's going on here? Like, what? Like, will he go into the pitch? And that's all he did for the whole game. I just marked him. And I remember saying to the lads, he was coming on loops. And obviously, like, with the technology now, we were watching the game. And even when the ball was getting over my head and it was going around, I was just watching him the whole time. So like.
And were you blackguarding him a bit, or was he giving you guff back, or was it?
He's 6'5" and he's twice the size of me. Like, so, like when people like, I'm the same size as yourself. I'm small enough. So like it's. But like it's. It was just one of those games where I can remember the night before, and I can say it now. Like we used to do a thing where you'd meet in a group and you'd say to the group what you were going to do. And I can remember just saying to myself and saying to them, I'm going to mark Michael Murphy. I'm going to mark Michael Murphy. I'm going to mark Michael Murphy. That was it.
You called this?
No, I was saying I was going to mark him out of the game. Sorry, I didn't call it. And my mindset then from going into the game was that I'd done 3 weeks in Kieran Donny at training, and we would give each other a good clipping now as well, like, which was no harm. But in that game, my mindset was just follow him ever. And that's like, and I said it to the lads before we came out here, like at times, what I watch him in games is that he's very effective, that he'll drop deep, and you might be coached and saying, right, if he goes past the 65, if he goes back in his own 45, leave him off. You can't.
No.
Because he'll get on ball, it'll come up, and he'll bring the likes of Ryan McEwen, they'll take ball up, he'll come on the loop again, and he'll still kick a score, and they're saying, Jesus Christ, I should follow him. So, like, he's just a guy, like, he's one of their leaders, like, between himself and Ryan and Paddy McBrearty, that you just need to forget about your own game and just man-mark him. Nothing else.
If you're planning for, he just mentioned the three of them there now: Michael Murphy, Ryan McHugh, and Paddy McBrearty. We just assume he's playing. Certainly that's the way Mayo would have been planning last week. So if you're getting ready to play the big teams and you need, it's all on the line, like kind of using a military approach to it. You go after the centre of gravity. What is the thing that makes that team tick? Right? Say if it was Dublin, you'd say Fenton. Get him out. Stop him, and we have a great chance. Now, if James is looking at, I'd say everybody in the hall agrees. McBrearty, McHugh, and Murphy. Well, the vast majority in the hall would agree that the three. That was obviously apparent to one of the other players down there. That those three are the key. And but then the next challenge then for James is, now have I got three to go after them? All right, so you can't get Lee Keegan and put him into a 3D photocopier, and make three of them.
Yeah.
And
Durcan's very good in fairness as well.
But Durcan's coming back now. You see, this is in my mind. Paddy Durcan's a great player, marvellous player, and a good man marker too.
Yeah, he did well.
But to get the right matchup, like Ryan McHugh is an incredibly elusive player, and can he do that matchup? Then Michael has a different physical presence, but he also has a beautiful football presence. So how do you get? And I would say, I know you're saying he probably wouldn't do the obvious. Like Lee Keegan has gone after Jeremy Connolly. He's gone after I made the point. Yeah, Kilkenny. I made the point during the week. When we went to play Mayo, Enda Smith was our standout.
Mark Quinlivan.
Geez, the next thing I looked across and the ball about to be thrown in, and who was in midfield? I couldn't believe it. Lee Keegan in grabbing Enda.
That was McEntie's idea there.
It probably was you fecker. But and then we started moving him. And then we said, the best we can do now, we put Enda Smith into full forward and hope Keegan goes.
That was a good move, yeah.
Yeah, but the damage was done at that stage. Unfortunately, he got about a goal and 3 points at that stage. So has he got the players to do that? Is Paddy up to the pace of doing a job like that? Because certainly, if you were to take out those three, you like Mayo are well down the road to winning the game. If they could say now, and that's a big say now, we can do well on Murphy, we can do well on Ryan McHugh, and we can do well on well, McBearty might look after himself now and not feature.
Who are you suggesting that Paddy mark?
Oh, geez. I say I don't know enough about them. I wouldn't know the fine detail of it, Tony. You know, you'd have to be in among them, and this is where Stephen now has that bit of knowledge that perhaps. But I would say Chris Bard is a good lad. Keith Higgins will man mark, but further up the field. Could Keith do Ryan McHugh? I don't know. Probably not.
Colin Boyle in, because I think Colin Boyle as well. Like he was excellent last time, and like he's a robust player. He's strong and.
But you're not putting Boyle in the marking job. You're not putting him on any.
If Michael Murphy's out the field, leave him off after him. You know, like he's not going to let you down anyway.
Yeah. No, the thing about Murphy is, Tony.
Well, Lee Keegan should pick him up. Lee Keegan the last day against Meath, as an example, ended up marking James McEntee, which in my view is a waste of Lee Keegan. James is a good player, but he's not for Lee Keegan.
Are you sure James wasn't kind of on Lee to kind of watch him, or the other way around?
Nobody marks Lee. Lee marks somebody. So it's just the way it works. And he follows you, he watches you. But when it comes to this, it makes sense that he marks Michael Murphy. In the same way that Park Hampsey actually marks Michael Murphy well when he does that job.
Curry did it.
Finney Curry did it. He's not impossible to mark. It's just different to mark.
Donegal are getting Murphy into the game a lot more than they used to with the kickouts, though, right? So, he's getting on guaranteed ball from these kickouts to the wings.
Different players around Michael now, Colm. It's changed dramatically in the last 2. They have a young emerging team. Sorry now to cut across you, Tony, but they have different class of play. 4 or 5 years ago, it was all about Michael Murphy. It's not all about Michael Murphy anymore. They have lots of other excellent players that they can. Michael could be sat down for periods of the game, and the other players, they're not necessarily always looking for him now. Where previously, I believe, he was taking the frees, he was taking everything that was moving, dictating all the pace.
Yeah, but the games in Castlebar, which is a tight field with overlapping 65s, you have Aidan and Shamie O'Shea in there. You're going to have somebody else in there along with them. There's probably not going to be Jason McGee in this instant. Michael Landon might come out to midfield. After that, this is entirely manageable for Mayo from a Michael Murphy perspective. The issue will be Ryan McHugh, but I think they'll probably put maybe Kevin McLaughlin up on Ryan McHugh, which I know may not make a huge amount of sense, but he can track at pace, he can fall him down, he can cause him trouble going the opposite direction. If you're going to rely on marking Ryan McHugh all the time, then you're not going to win.
I think you're gone. And I would have been nice to see Gavin White last the full game, because he was giving Ryan a bit of trouble going the other way. Yeah. Is that the only way to manage Ryan, is to not... Because when Ryan gets the ball in his hands, he's almost unstoppable.
He's very elusive. He's very difficult.
The way he changes the direction of his runs, it's unreal.
Yeah, he tracks cards, and he gets in, as you were saying outside, he gets in very close to you, lies into you, and you fall off him, and then he's gone again. And if he hits the ground, he's up in a second. He's like a rubber ball, so he's very elusive.
How much work would you have done in the matchups, Tony, when you were over Mayo? Because you did pull rabbit out of a hat. The big one was Aidan O'Shea in on Donaghy. I don't think too many people predicted that outside of David Brady, and who'd listen to him. That was maybe the only one he ever got right. Then you had Lee Keegan playing centre forward against Kerry, which was a really surprising move, and that was to maybe drag Paul Murphy out of position. You had Lee Keegan on Quinlivan, you had Lee Keegan on Enda Smith against Roscommon, and another good one, you had Alan Dillon marking Justin McMahon was it your first year, and he was dropping off, and Alan Dillon went to town in the first half. So, there was loads of different little tactical things he used to do over Mayo. I don't think I don't think Horan's into that. Mayo are a little bit more predictable, maybe.
I think that the top county teams of them all, particularly Division 1 at least, I think the difference between them and other teams is their ability to adjust and adapt. So I would be surprised if all those teams don't do a huge amount of tactical coaching and awareness and being able to be flexible between game to game. So while Mayo have set up almost identical in the past couple of games, the Kerry game after getting hammered and the Galway game, I think the players will be similarly set up tactically, but I think they'll have different roles and responsibilities to play. So are they flexible? Yes, they're flexible. Is James flexible? I don't know enough about James. I imagine he is. He has to be, because you cannot be a top team without being able to adjust and from game to game. with a huge amount of video analysis and awareness and coaching on the field to supplement it.
Yeah.
So I have something to say, and I just don't think it's possible, yeah.
They've had 2 weeks. Maybe the 2 week rest will do Mayo good, because they were on the road for 6 weeks. The 6 weeks in a row, five weeks in a row without any break.
For 4 very long road trips.
Yeah, they looked dead on their feet really against Meath, and that 2 weeks could rejuvenate them. Aidan, do you think?
I think so, and they were flat in the Kerry game as well. And I just think it's, I suppose when you go through the back door, like everyone believes that Mayo will come through, and they always do. But like you were saying there, like the down games and stuff, it's like they come down to their level, they make a battle out of it, but they get over the line. And I think the 2 weeks off, and I just think one of the big things last week, what I've seen in the Meath game as well, is this thing about bringing Andy Moran in. Now, fair enough, he's 35, 36, but he changed the game when he came in the last day. And like for me, it's a no-brainer. You have to start someone like him. You know, I don't care who you have inside there. He's just one of those guys that makes him tick. He came on Clarny, kicked 2 points. And, you know, I don't care, like, for me, anyway, there's no kind of game plan around bringing Andy Moran in when you're either trying to scrape back the game or try to do something different. You start him.
But at what point do you move on from Andy Moran, though, Kevin? Like, when do you, because Cohen's having a good season. At what point do you say?
Andy is different player now to Darren Cohen. Like, he's around a long time. I totally with Aidan on that. Andy Moran starts and he establishes momentum. You bring him on with 15 minutes to go, you're asking him to regain momentum. Now at 35, with 15 minutes to go, to regain momentum, you're 3 or 4 down. That's a big ask. But starting him so that in all those early balls, when you want someone to make a good decision, like Darren Cohen's a really lovely footballer, but like in those early balls, will he make those right decisions? A 35-year-old who's been up here and down 20 times, he will make those good decisions, because that's, you know, that's why he was Footballer of the Year, you know, a short time ago. But he's always had that throughout most of his career. He's really good decision maker.
Yeah.
So I would be in 100% agreement. Like, I don't buy this age thing for him. You know, he's in great shape. He looks after himself really well. Can he not play for Mayo right up to half time and get a break and play another 10-15 minutes beyond it? Of course he can.
I'm sure he can.
Sorry, no, I just think the other thing as well is he's one of those players that plays on the D. He's always in the danger zone, and he's very, very hard to mark. The year he got player of the year, they got fine. Like, he gave Kerry a masterclass above, because he's always, like, when you speak about Bernard Brogan and these guys, he's always available. And I think if you're looking for Donegal as well, and they're saying, who do we need to pick up or who do we worry about? If he starts, he's a guy you would worry about. Because I remember marking myself one year, and I was playing centre back in a league game above in Castlebar, and I was told to drop off like that, drop off Andy Moran. Now, it started off fairly well, but I didn't come out after half time. That's how Andy Moran got on so much ball. He caused absolute havoc. So I think I was kind of the reason why he came up to that level again. But you know, he's one of those guys that needs start with him, because I think even for the crowd as well, like, he brings the crowd, and like, he's loved in Mayo, like, and he's one of those players, like, so I think he's a trump card, and I think he's one of those guys that has to start. Yeah.
He transformed your season, actually, Tony, in your first year with Mayo. He came back, was it a Kildare game, and he went from, he just put a real structure to your play. Now your kicking game started working. So I presume you'll be on the side of maybe starting him, or you think he's an impact?
I think the two boys are judging this based on his second half performances against teams. I went to the Down game, and he gave a lesson to the fullback in the Down game, and he was super. But against better teams and teams that want to defend the square and are physically able and that at the start, there's a question over whether Andy adds more value in the second half by creating the better structure, by linking play better at that stage, or otherwise. He's not going to last 70 minutes at the top level. So it's what's the best use of Andy Moran at that stage. Now, he is superb. In the year that Andy did well, he wasn't playing. The year you're referring to, he wasn't playing. He wasn't getting on. Like, and he's not easy managed when he's not getting on. So
very few are.
He's very, very few. Like, you know, he was coming off the back of, was he All-Star material or something there recently, and things that. So he's coming off the back of very good years, and next thing he's not getting game time and he's not getting opportunities. But where he was going wrong is he was making runs 60 yards from the D out to try and win ball. Yeah. And he just doesn't have the legs for that. And so he transformed his game to try and make shorter runs and use his body and his size and his strength to try and trap that ball. And in that year you're referring to, he transformed his game, and as a result transformed their game as well, you know. Yeah. So I think he's still developing and still learning, which is great for a man at his age and still he wants to learn. I just think that to start him may not be the best idea this weekend.
Right. Okay, so just to finish up, lads, we don't want to get into the kick-out talk because I find kick-out analysis very boring, and I'm not going to bore you here. But one interesting part about kick-out analysis at the moment is a tweet from Eamon Fitzmaurice, which we have here, and he said, Tony McEntee was a great man to spot and fill space on an opposition kick-out as he slowly withdrew from the pitch, disrupting the goalkeeper's appreciation of space. Jay was a good man to drag his backside when required to. So Tony, dragging your arse off the field when poor goalkeepers are trying to kick out the ball, here's your chance to defend yourself.
So, to be fair, that was the plan. And it worked. And it worked, to be honest. I can't claim credit for it, particularly I can't remember. It's probably Buckley's idea. But the idea was...
So before a kick-out, you were given advice...
There's an erect running in and out.
You were given advice just for the kick-out, and then you're as slowly as possible walking back on the side you think the kick-out is going, or...
So the keeper stands up and he looks out, and he doesn't know if it's who's who. He just sees a body. So therefore that space is empty, or taken up, as the case might be. So it automatically, because the keepers nowadays are looking between 6 and 10 seconds for the early kick-out. And particularly Cluxton and people like that are looking for space, widen wings to take over, whatever. So in that case, he looks up, sees a man, that's it, change my mind, headed short into the corner or whatever the case is, you know.
Right.
I didn't quite do what the Kilkenny selector did. Grab the ball and cast the ball and take it away. But...
So, when did you know that Kerry and Dublin have copped onto you, or did Fitzmaurice ever say anything to you, or would there be... that was just that then?
On the tweet, yeah.
Right. Classic, and you thought this was the perfect crime that you were getting away. You'll take this on into Monaghan, Tony, but now... All right, we'll get predictions here, lads, before we finish. Aidan, we'll start with you. It's 2-1 to Donegal at the moment.
I think after the drawing game, I think Mayo have been written off a lot over the last couple of weeks. I think that's something that's going to feed into the players, and I think there'll be a massive kick them. Like, you're at home, it's definitely worth a few points to you, and like we said it there, they've been flat the last couple of games. They're still there. There is definitely a big performance in them, and I just think that Mayo will beat them this weekend.
Okay, there you go. 2-2. What do you think, Kevin?
Well, there's a small bit of context now. Remember, when you look at the table, Donegal only need a draw. I haven't got there yet.
Here, that's your man, Gay Sheeran, down there, is
it? He actually let it in. So a draw is good enough for Donegal, and I think we all accept this is likely to be a tight match. So you can see why the bookies, that's just simple mathematics. But it is a nice little safety net to have if there's a couple of minutes left and there's only a point in it or it's a draw match. That favours Donegal ever so slightly. From the Mayo perspective, just to dampen down what's ahead, remember now, we have Donegal. If we were to win that, we have Dublin. If we were to win that, we have Kerry. Like, that's the battle that's out in front of us over the next 3-4 weeks, right? But we can only jump one fence at a time. And I think they know that there's 7-8 guys within one defeat of massive transition, retirement, and this journey is over. And my own sense, and this is what I love about James's Mayo team in the last 6, 7, 8 years. I know Stephen, obviously, and other guys right there in the middle as well. But what James has done for the Mayo group that, I'm somewhat in envy of from my own time, is that they don't walk away from anything easy. They are marvellous warriors for the county, and I have a great sense that defensively, Mayo, the big strong part of the Donegal team is the offence, is the attack. And my own sense is Barrett, Harrison, Boyle, Higgins, Keegan, they're serious players, Colm, who have played outrageous ball for us for the last 10, 15 years, and they won't walk away from this easy. So there won't be anything soft here on Saturday. They must be boiling, hearing that Donegal are coming down as keen favourites. They must be. That was a Freudian slip. They must be boiling, as if you were in there, Aidan, if you were in there, Colm, if we were in there and you're hearing this, Jesus are coming down as we're 2-1 for this game.
Oh, there's no lack of motivation.
So there's
there,
huge motivation. Can they beat Donegal? I think they will beat Donegal in a very tight match. But the problem then is only beginning. And I know you only want to talk about this game, but 7 days later, we're bumping into Dublin. And that is going to be hard yards.
Yeah.
But I think on Saturday night, the crowd are going to be massive in this. And if Mayo give them something early, and that's why the Andy Moran thing is important, establishing momentum early rather than trying to grab it with 10 to go, it's much easier to establish it. So if they give the crowd something to grab onto, like this is the game of the year now. If this pans out the way we think it will, because this is an All-Ireland quarter-final. It's not a Super 8 match. It's not a round 3, phase 2, group 7, whatever the feck it is. This is an All-Ireland quarter-final, and it's die dog or produce a license. That's the way it is now. It's fucking it's.
Okay, we'll go Mayo. Super Mayo. Tony. Die dog or produce the license. It's a new one on me.
So, Mayo in recent times went to Ballybuffet.
You remember who you coached?
Mayo in recent years went to Ballybuffet and beat Donegal in a crunch match in Ballybuffet. I think Donegal is coming here with injuries and with more problems than answers that they have at the minute. And I think Mayo is actually improving. And I think there's 27,000 at this match the weekend. It's going to be sold out at 27,000. And I think if the people and the crowd get behind this Mayo team, then it'll be worth loads to them. And for me, it's going to be Mayo this weekend by a point or so.
It's 3-0 for Mayo in the second panel. Really pulled it out of the fire. Anyways, the one way to decide this game is in our quiz, which is coming up next. So we're going to give you a 2-minute break, and we'll be back. It's Mayo versus Donegal in the quiz. Welcome back, Westport. Okay. All right, as we know with this quiz, the winners of this quiz has never failed to win at that weekend. So I don't know how it's happened, but that's the way it's gone. So we've got Mayo versus Donegal, or Mayo plus Tony McEntee, a son of Mayo now. He's adopted. And we have Donegal plus Aidan O'Mahony. You mark Michael Murphy. That's as close as we'll get, right? So, so we'll go Team 1. Question 1 for Team 1. This is how many All-Stars does he have round? So, we want you to nominate a captain. Kevin, will you go captain, right? You can confer, but you're calling out the answer. How many All-Stars does Michael Murphy have?
Who are you asking us?
Yeah.
Well answered.
3. I think 2. 3.
Is there a time limit?
Not really.
I just don't.
I'll have to press you, lads. They don't pass over.
Captain's choice. So.
We're gonna go with 2.
2 is the correct answer. So.
That's a good answer.
Okay, 1-0 to Mayo. Question 1 to Team 2. How many All-Stars does Lee Keegan have?
You know that, do you? I would have said
4. All agree?
Yeah. 4.
Mark, you're the captain. 4. Well done. 1-1. Okay. Mark's captain. Okay. Question 2 for Team 1. How many All-Stars does Neil McGee have?
Who's the fullback for Mayo that year? Harry? Calf got it.
Did he won one in the corner.
He didn't have one. 0.
I was on the trip in New York with him.
Yeah, we'll have to press you, lads.
Right.
We can answer as well.
Alan was on the trip, the All-Star trip with him, so 1.
3.
Whoa.
3. You got one.
Alan wasn't
that was
on the other 2 trips.
He owes him 2 of them because he sat in front of him.
He got one in 2011, and then the 12,
14.
and 14.
We were going 0 for a while.
Okay, question 2 to Team 2. How many All-Stars does Andy Moran have? Mark, you can give the answer.
Yeah, we're going for 2.
2, yeah, correct answer. Okay, 2-1 to Donegal. Question 3 for Team 1 in this round. Last question. How many All-Stars does Declan Bonner have?
Oh, jeez. 93, was it? It's 92. 92, the one. Or did he get one? Scored a point at the end. Yeah, you give him one. Yeah. 1.
No, he doesn't have any. It's a trick question. Question 3 for Team 2. How many All-Stars does James Horan have?
I know that. It's more your time, Rory.
Two or three, Al.
Yeah, Rory's saying 3 here.
Okay, it's 2. Okay.
You said 3, so come.
All right, so it's 2-1 to Donegal after round 1. Round 2, what club does he play for round? Question 1 to Team 1. What club does Kieran Thompson play for?
I'll defer to my Ulster compatriot here. He hasn't been on the Ulster Council or the Ulster team. He hasn't been on the Ulster club team, so. Yeah, Donegal, maybe, yeah. Should we try it? 4 Masters.
No, that's Naomh Connell, Glenties. So they've been on TG Cahir, lads, on a Sunday.
They beat the bit of us. He wasn't playing, his brother was.
To be fair, we played that many, Rory.
Okay, question 1 for Team 2. What club does Matthew Ruan play for?
Oh, God.
See, it's easy when you know them, lads.
I heard this recently.
You know that, did you?
He's not a big Hollywood. Hollywood.
Yeah, you would got it.
Take a
Lads,
shot, Mark.
no.
Take a
no
shot
clues.
at what?
Take a shot at Evan.
What are you going for, lads?
Hollymount.
No. Brafey, Aidan O'Shea. Aidan O'Shea, Seamus O'Shea, and Ruan they have. Right, okay.
Should have figured that.
Question.
Who's picking the team?
Okay, what's the score here? Donegal are 1 up. Right, question 2 for Team 1. What club does Sean Patton play for? Hasn't played that many times for them, but has a club.
It's like Rovers, yeah. Well, he came from the soccer.
He's played for Donegal before he's played for this club.
Where's Finn Harps? Finn Harps is in around Ballybuffet, isn't it? It's not true.
He played 1 game, I think, did he? For you? Jesus.
Yeah. So we'll go for Unans.
It is Unans. I didn't say it. Okay, Unans is the correct answer. Question 2 for Team 2. What club does Fionn McDonough play for?
Yeah, Westport.
Okay, the guilt of everyone.
We knew it anyway.
Donegal 1 up. Okay, question 3 in the last one of this round. This is a more difficult one. This is question 3 for Team 1. What club does Owen Van Gallagher play for?
Must be Neil McGee's club. Is it? Yeah, I think who's he play for? Guido, is it? Yeah, Van Gallagher, like Irish. Guido? I think. Yeah. Guido.
Rory's managing them at the minute.
Is it? Is it? Now, how do you pronounce it? Nakiela Bioga? Killybegs. Okay. Question 3 for Team 2. What club does Darren Cohen play for?
Yeah. I thought he was Hollymount. No, he's not. I thought he was Hollymount. No.
Do you know that?
I thought so.
You thought him in the brain.
No, but
Give it a shot.
no, maybe not.
I'll have to press you guys.
Go on ahead, Mark.
Hollymount.
Yeah. Okay. Whoever said Hollymount down there, throw them out.
He said it before.
I did say it before. I did.
Okay. All right.
Hollymount Cairo.
It's enough. Okay, round 3. So Donegal are 2 up. Whoever shouted Hollymount can be thrown out there, whoever sits near him. Okay, This is the name that team round. So you're going to have 20 seconds to name as many of these All-Ireland winning teams as you can. So we're going to start with Mayo. So do we have 20 seconds on the clock, or is that possible? We don't. I'll count it. Okay. All right, I forgot to get to 20 seconds on the clock. Okay, starting from when I finish this sentence. You name as many of this team. Name as many of the All-Ireland winning Meath team in 1999. Go.
Garrity, the good player, Giles, Fay, Riley,
Tommy Dowd.
Dowd came on.
McDermott, Dowd, what's that, Riley?
Lester.
Harnan, no, he's gone.
It's done. Time up.
Okay, time up. Time up. How many are we giving him there? 7?
4.
Lucky. So you got Garrity, Giles, McDermott, Riley, Fay, Dowd came on. 6.
So he played.
6.
9, I think 9.
Okay. We're giving you 6. Okay, and you were. We'll give them 7.
7, yeah.
All right, and you were 2 up. So Donegal, you need 5 to win. And remember, no one has ever lost on the Sunday after winning this competition. Okay, on the Saturday. Okay, Saturday might be different. All right, name as many of the All-Ireland winning Kerry team in 2000.
Mark O'Shea.
You're not in. Oh, you're not in. You're not in.
Go,
Donegal.
Mark O'Shea, Thomas, Colm Cooper.
Keith, Mike Frank Russell, John Crowley, Paul Dolly, Darragh O'Shea, Morris Fitz,
Liam Hassett.
Seamus
Moynihan. So it is Johnny Crowley.
3.
Winners.
That's 3.
No, we got.
Oh, Maiden O'Mahony's not doing it. 3. Who?
Oh, sorry, he's not allowed to do it.
He's not allowed to do it, so you're on 3.
Tomás O'Shea.
Declan O'Keefe, Darragh O'Shea, Tomás O'Shea, Seamus Moynihan, Johnny Crowley, Morris Fitz.
All right, you're out of time. You're out of time.
We won it.
Donegal got 4.
Tiebreaker.
Jeez, I have to give Gallagher his due. He's a competitor, isn't he? He really is. He really is. All right, Mayo win the quiz. That's all we've time for. Thanks very much for coming. Thanks to all our guests. And we'll be back on Monday with a review show as usual. We'll talk to you then. Good night.